In December 2025, the UK government announced that it's going to ban the live boiling of lobsters, crabs and other crustaceans, with this ban taking effect from 2030. Most headlines are focusing on the cruelty aspect of this, which is really important. But something that I find more interesting is the structural question as to how did we go from 420 million animals being treated as if they don't experience pain, to all of a sudden being recognized as sentient and having laws put in place to protect them from experiencing pain and suffering. And what does this mean for our global food system? I'm Matt Uniman, and in this video, we're going to look at what animal sentience is, why decapod crustaceans were reclassified, and what impact this will have on our food system. So let's give some context. Back in 2021, the UK government worked with the London School of Economics to get them to investigate whether decapod crustaceans are sentient. These researchers looked at over 300 scientific papers and concluded that decapod crustaceans with 10 legs, show strong evidence of being sentient and having the ability to experience pain and suffering. And so in 2022, the Animal Welfare Law, basically the sentience law, formally recognized these animals as sentient. But it didn't make a difference to industry, nothing changed in practice. That's where the current Labour government comes in with this regulation, which puts the science into practice and bans the live boiling of crabs, lobsters, shrimp and other decapod crustaceans, bringing us in line with Switzerland, New Zealand, Australia and Norway. And before we go on, let's talk about, what is animal sentience? So sentience is the capacity to have subjectively balanced experiences. So the ability to feel things as pleasant or unpleasant. It doesn't mean they need to experience things in the same way as us, but do they have their own experience that is meaningful to them? There's a key distinction between nociception and pain. So nociception is that automatic reflex that happens when you put your hand in a flame. Your body doesn't register the pain, but your body automatically moves you away to prevent you feeling pain. Pain is the experience of that harm, the conscious awareness of suffering. And for decades, the assumption was that crustaceans only had nociception, those automatic reflexes. But the researchers at NSC have now challenged that assumption. The researchers used an 8-criteria framework to assess how likely it was that the animal experiences pain. And these criteria fall under two categories: neurobiological indicators and behavioral indicators. So the four neurobiological criteria are: do they have nociceptors, the pain receptors? Do they have integrated brain regions? Do the nociceptors connect to the brain? And do they have receptors for analgesic drugs, painkillers? The four behavioral criteria are responses to analgesic drugs, motivational trade-offs, so will they sacrifice something to avoid harm, flexible self-protective behavior, and associated learning beyond reflexes. The threshold for strong evidence is meeting at least 5 of these 8 criteria. And it's not claiming certainty, but it's just saying that these animals are very likely to have a subjective experience of pain. And so because of that, and because we can't prove that they don't, we should take the precautionary principle, acting as if they do, and putting in the work to make sure that they avoid experience suffering and pain. The LSE researchers found that true crabs met 5 of the 8 criteria. Lobsters and crayfish met 3, whereas prawns and shrimps met a few of them, but not as many. But they all showed some signs of suffering and sentience. So what tipped the balance? Well, crustaceans have nociceptors, the nerve endings that detect injuries and extreme temperature. They would modify their behavior after pain. So hermit crabs would sacrifice their favorite shell after being electrically shocked, suggesting that they value harm avoidance. And they respond to analgesic drugs. So they would groom themselves less after an injury when they would administer the pain-relieving drugs. So it's clear that these aren't just reflexes, they're adaptive, context-dependent responses, suggesting conscious processing of experiences. And this regulation will have a huge impact on the UK industry. So the UK catches over 420 million decapod crustaceans every year, and over 630 billion are farmed globally, making them the largest farmed animal in the world. But the ban doesn't eliminate consumption, it just regulates the method of slaughter, with researchers thinking that the most humane method is electrical stunning. So basically they lose consciousness after a couple seconds, compared to live boiling, which takes minutes for them to die. Now imagine that difference, a few seconds of pain or a few minutes of excruciating pain being boiled alive. Even if crustaceans can't feel pain like we can, they feel pain, and so that would be a horrifying experience for them. But there's practical challenges around cost and scale. It's going to cost a lot of money to buy this equipment. And if you're a small kitchen who gets through 10, 20, 100 crustaceans, it might be easier to humanely stun all of them. But if you're a large factory processing hundreds of thousands every day, how are you going to ensure that you stun all of them before you kill them? You're going to have to retrofit your whole operation, buy expensive equipment, which is going to push the price up for UK farmers and businesses, ultimately making it more expensive for consumers. And this is where we need to take a food systems approach. Because it's all well and good that the UK government is putting in this regulation for UK businesses. But we don't just buy UK products. We live in a globalized system. In the past, when the UK has implemented stronger animal welfare laws, UK consumers and businesses have responded by just buying from other countries where it's cheaper. So the animals still suffer at the hands of British consumers and businesses, but just not coming from British farms. So how can we ensure that we're not buying and eating decapod crustaceans that have suffered? But this is not a symbolic ban. It will have a direct positive impact on the 420 million crustaceans which are caught each year in the UK. It signifies a shift forward, showing that the way we treat animals should be aligned with the science, not just our gut feelings or the way we've done things forever. And it signals a move towards a more ethical food system, one where individual beings are treated with dignity, not as commodities. If you've liked this video or learned something new or interesting, please like it and subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting videos every week about our food system, because I believe that if we're more informed about our food system, we're more empowered to make ethical, sustainable food choices that align with our ethics and values. And leave me a comment about this ban. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think we need to have more bans like this to cover more animals? Or do you think businesses are just going to skirt around it and source their products from countries which don't have these requirements and so are cheaper? Let me know what you think.